I just got back from the biggest trade I ever made. Let's see how I did. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Guitar Gear Trader channel. Thanks for being with me. My name is Steve, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee, and I just came back from probably the biggest trade I have ever brokered for a single guitar. There was one other trade that I did for the first ever vintage guitar that I ever got, which was a pretty big trade. But this one, in as far as value, I think this one might be the biggest one. And I had to actually trade 3 guitars to get 1 guitar. So please let me know if I did a good job. The guitar I got, the guitar in question, we're going to find out in a little bit. But first, I need you to subscribe. I need you to hit that bell. I need you to put some comments down below. Tell me if you liked the show. Tell me if you liked the trade I did. Tell me if I got a good deal, if I got a bad deal. Tell me what you think. It really helps me in the algorithm, and I appreciate everybody that does that for me. So please subscribe, hit the bell, watch the videos. Share the videos, tell other people about the videos. It really helps me out big time. So every once in a while, a guitar shows up on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist that is one of those guitars that you just wish you had. It's one of your bucket list guitars. And I want to do a whole episode on guitars that are considered to be my bucket list guitars, my top 10 guitars that I want to have before I leave this earth. I have one of them, or now I have 2 or actually I might have 3 of them right now. So I'm pretty blessed. I gotta say, I'm pretty blessed to have and be able to get the guitars and the gear that I have, and I'm always thankful for that. One of those bucket list guitars is my Pelham Blue 61 reissue SG Murphy Lab. The other one is my 71 black Les Paul Custom, and the third one is this bad boy. I traded for a 1972 Medallion Firebird. Now, if you don't know what this is, we're going to go through Firebirds in general and what they are. And this is an all-original 1972 Medallion Firebird. It's in pretty rough shape, but I like it in rough shape. Okay, I really like them. I like them like that. So let's talk about Firebirds in general. The Firebird was originally designed and released in 1963. There are 4 basic models of the Firebird, and you can see them on the screen here. You have the Firebird 1, the Firebird 3, the 5, and the 7. The big difference between all 3 of these is going to be the amount of pickups they have, the fretboard, and the appointments of a vibrola or not. Okay, so the Firebird 1, the red one on your left, has 1 Firebird pickup. Do not call them mini humbuckers. They are not mini humbuckers. They are different. A mini humbucker is very similar to a regular humbucker, just smaller. And a Firebird pickup has blade magnets. They're not poles like in a mini humbucker. They're blades. So there are 2 blades that go side to side on the in the Firebird pickup. So the Firebird 1 has 1 Firebird pickup with just a volume and tone control. It's going to have a rosewood fretboard with dot inlays and no binding on the side. The Firebird 3 is going to have binding up the rosewood fingerboard, still going to have dot inlays. It's going to have 2 Firebird pickups and a short vibrola. The 5 and the 7 are going to be a little bit more upscale. The 5 is what I have, and it has a bound rosewood fretboard with trapezoid inlays, kind of like what you would get on a Les Paul Standard. It has your 2 Firebird pickups, and it has your long Maestro vibrola. The 7 is the analog to the Les Paul Custom. So it's going to have 3 gold-plated mini Firebird pickups. It's going to have the Maestro Vibrola, but it's going to have an ebony board that's bound with block pearl inlays. Okay, just like you would get on a Les Paul Custom. So those are the 4 models of the Firebird that were introduced in 1963. There were a Firebird 2 and there is a Firebird 4, but those are basses. Those are not guitar, well, they're bass guitars, not 6-string guitars, they're 4-string bass guitars. This was the first guitar that Gibson made with a neck-through body, which means this middle piece here goes all the way from the bottom of the guitar all the way up to the headstock. This is all one piece of wood, from the top of the headstock to the bottom in the center piece here. That's all one piece of wood. And that's why people love these so much. And on the sides, you have 2 wings of mahogany. This whole thing is mahogany, but you have 2 wings of mahogany that are glued into that center piece. That's going to be a very resonant guitar. Okay, you can feel the vibrations throughout the entire thing, not just at the neck joint. Okay, but you're going to feel that resonance throughout the whole guitar itself. Nowadays, they actually discontinued the Firebird, the typical Firebird. So there's no longer going to be a neck-through body on Firebirds anymore. They're going to be set glued necks, just like you would have on a non-reverse Firebird or a Firebird Studio. So I have a non-reverse here. All the non-reverse Firebirds, it's a little bit different. These are going to have glued necks, set necks right there. Okay, they always had that, even back in the 60s. So I just said non-reverse and reverse. What do I mean by that? So this is called the reverse body, because typically on a guitar, let's see if I can grab a Strat here, you can see that the upper horn is typically longer than the lower horn. Here's that on the Strat, here's it on the Firebird. So on other guitars, typically the top horn, here's a Rickenbacker for example, the top horn is going to be longer than your bottom horn. But on the reverse Firebird, it's the opposite, it's reversed. Okay, so your bottom horn is going to be longer than your top horn. On the non-reverse Firebirds that actually came later, it's more of a traditional, still an offset guitar, but the top horn is going to be out further than the bottom horn. Okay, which is going to feel a little bit more like a traditional guitar. In the early stages of this guitar in the 60s, they didn't have a logo on the pickguard. Later on, like late 63 into 64, they started getting the Firebird logo, which everybody loves and knows. I have a really cool t-shirt from the Gibson garage with that logo on it. I love Firebirds. If you've watched the channel, you know that I'm a big lover of Firebirds, but I've had lots of trouble finding one that I really liked. And finally, this is the one. This is the Firebird, the non-reverse Firebird that I'm going to hold on to and keep, and it plays and it sounds amazing. Normally, I only get to play these non-reverse ones really well, that I feel like I play them well. And I've always had issues finding a non-reverse that I really liked. And I did a video on that a couple of videos ago. I'll put a link to it in the description. I traded away a 2014 anniversary model and it was like the 3rd or 4th one I've traded away because I just can't connect with a lot of these. I connect really well with the non-reverse ones, but I really have a hard time connecting with the reverse ones. And I haven't put this down in about a week since I've gotten it, and I plugged it in a lot. And if I mess with the tone knobs, I really get an amazing sound out of it, and it just sounds killer. It really does sound killer. I can't wait to use it. I'm going to bring it to rehearsal next week. So what's really special about the 1972 guitar, and you might see it, you might be saying to yourself, what is that poker chip thing on it? Well, what happened with Firebirds is that they were really not good sellers for Gibson. And that seems to be a common story for the Gibson Guitar Company. The The 59 Les Pauls, or the Les Pauls in general, were not very popular at the time in 1959 and 1960. And they stopped making them, and they went to the SG body, and that was the new Les Paul at the time, before Les Paul had his name removed from the guitars, and then they were just called SGs. But then they reissued them, and because people wanted them back. So they reissued them in the late 60s, and like 68 and 69, they reissued the Les Pauls. The same thing happened with the Firebirds. Okay, the Firebirds got discontinued in 1969. So they only had 6 years worth of production for those, from 63 to 69. There was a demand back for them in 1972. So this technically is like the first ever reissue of the original spec Firebirds. If you think about it, you know how like today we have R9s for 59 reissue Les Pauls, and we have R7s and ROs for the 1960 Les Pauls. This is like the first ever reissue of a Firebird. They reissue them all the time now, but this is the first one. And they commemorated it with a medallion. And in this medallion, I'll try to show you, it says Gibson. I actually have a picture for you. Let me show you a picture here. Okay. In this picture, you can see they did this with 2 guitars. They did this with the Firebird, and they did it a year earlier with the Flying V. In 1971, they did the Medallion series for the Flying V, and in 72, they did the Medallion series for the Firebirds. And with the Firebirds, I didn't look up how many of the Vs that they made, but the Firebirds, they made 1 for every day of the year in 1972. And from what I've researched, there were 366 days. It must have been a leap year in 1972. So there was 366 of these produced. And each one of these medallions has a number on it that indicates which one it was. And the one I have, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but it's number 119. Don't know if you can see it, but it's right there underneath the Gibson logo. Okay, it's number 119. So this was the 119th of that year made, which is really cool. It's not near my birthday. My birthday would be in the 230s. I actually have a birthday video that a birthday guitar video I want to do, which would have been amazing, but I wasn't born in 1972. My brother was, though. His birthday's after mine, so it's not even close to his either. But 119 is the one I got, and it's really beat up. I mean, it's grungy, it's dirty, it's got loads of dust all over it. And notice it does, one thing that kind of made me nervous when I saw it on Facebook was that it didn't have the Firebird logo. And when I looked it up and I did my research, this, like I said, this is a reissue of the originals, and the originals didn't have the Firebird logo on it till later in the year of 63 into 64. It has a big chunk of wood taken out of it right here. I don't know how the heck that happened. There's no way someone could have played the wear into this, because there is a chunk of wood taken out of there. I have no idea what that's from. I haven't taken off the pick guard. The pick guard is starting to shrink because these old plastics do something called off-gassing. And when they off-gas, they'll shrink up and they'll crumble, actually. So this will eventually crumble and break on me. But I have no idea what this gouge is from. And to be honest, I really don't care, because it's got amazing mojo. I don't know how that could have happened. I really have no idea how that could have happened. I don't know if someone tried sanding it and they realized they were messing it up, so they stopped. I have no clue, because that's not just someone's hand being there, I don't think. I doubt that. Okay. There are some marks on the vibrato that I can't get off. It looks like someone scribbled with like a paint marker on it. I haven't really tried to take that off yet, but it does look like it's in the chrome or in the nickel, whatever metal this is. The knobs are not original. They're the correct style knob, but they're not the original knobs. The person I got it from had speed knobs on it, like you would see like on a Les Paul Custom, the gold speed knobs. But those were not error correct, so I put on the correct knobs. I had a set of these lying around, so I put those on there. The pots are correct. Okay, I took off the back plate and the pots are correct. There is lots of wear on the back, so somebody lovingly played this, and I hope to continue that. And the big thing is that there was a big old neck break. Okay, we can see the discoloration here. That's not play wear, that's where the repair happened. The repair is all the way down here, went all the way up into the neck, and the headstock split down the middle. But the person I got it from, and it's a little rough, it's a little raised. Okay, it's not the cleanest repair ever done, but it doesn't affect the playability. And the person that I got it from said that it happened, he had this guitar for 10 years, and it happened before he got the guitar. So it's rock solid. He played it all the time, and I've been playing it. I haven't had any issues. It's got the original banjo tuners, which is probably why it broke, because these things get so top heavy that they tend to fall over and crack on the neck. Every one of these that I looked up, not every one of them, I'm lying there, but a lot of them, probably, 4 out of 6, the ones that I've looked up have had neck repairs on these, so it's very common. And to be honest, because of that headstock repair, it's probably the reason I got it for what I did get it for. So I was on Facebook, and the person who listed this, he does an amazing job with pictures. I'll tell you, he sells you on the pictures. I wish I had the listing for it to show you, but he does an amazing job. He has these like 4x12 full stack Marshalls that he like puts carpet around, like carpet behind, like puts it like a tapestry carpet behind it. He has lighting, and he sits these up against old beat up Martins, and he does that with all the guitars that he sells. And it just makes it look so freaking killer, and it got me, man. And I saw it, it came up on my feed, and he wanted $7,500 for it. And the first thing I did, I was like, well, it's a 72, so it's probably not, he's probably in the ballpark, because there was another guy I was speaking to for a 65 all original reverse Firebird with 3 P90 pickups, and he wanted $7,500. And I was like, well, that's a 65 and he wants $7,500. Why is this one $7,500 if it's from 72? I was like, all right, well, the medallion thing probably makes it rare, because there's only 366 of these floating around in the world. So I got one of those 366, so that makes it pretty expensive. So then I was like, well, let me go look around. Let me go look around and find some examples of these. I went to Reverb, and there were more at the time, but you can see the 2 that are on here, one of them is not an original paint job, and I don't see the medallion, so I don't know what the deal is with that one, but everything, it's a refin. It's definitely a refin, because they didn't make these in Alpine White. They only made them in this color. But here's one. I mean, it's mint, and then they want $15,000 for it. So I was like, oh my God, people are asking 15 grand for these guitars. Granted, it's mint, right? This one's definitely not mint. So I was like, well, let me go other places. And when I looked on Reverb at the time, there were more on here. Don't know why there are less on here, but here's another one, pure vintage. They want $10,000 for this one. Again, it looks pretty mint. Doesn't have a headstock break or anything like that. Here's another one from Walt Grace Vintage, 7,400 they want. Okay, so they're out there. Here's another one from Mike's Guitar Bar. He wants 10 grand for it. So I figured 72 or 7,500 probably wasn't the worst price in the world for this guitar. So I decided, what do I have that I could trade this guy for? And most likely, people who are selling really expensive guitars, people who are selling $7,500 guitars, they don't typically want trades unless it's a vintage guitar. I probably could have traded him my 71 Les Paul for it, but I didn't want to let that go. So I had to take a hard look at my room and say, okay, what guitars do I think would value $7,500? Not what I paid for them, not what I traded for them. On the street, what guitars here do I have that would equal 7,500 or even go a little bit higher, right? Because the people that want to trade, they don't want to break even. They want something that's going to be higher than what they're getting. So what I came up with was 3 guitars. And 2 of these guitars were really dear to my heart. One of them not so much. I really liked one of them. But on the left-hand side, that was my Custom Shop Gibson Reverse Firebird 3. That was a limited edition Custom Shop back in the early 2000s. I want to say it was like a 2003 or 2004 Custom Shop. They didn't make many of them, and they made even less of them with the 3P90 pickups. And that was a hard one to let go. However, I just got this tobacco custom shop non-reverse Firebird from the demo shop. Got a great price on that. So I figured, you know what, it's okay if I let that one go. In the middle, that was a 1977 Gretsch Country Gentleman. And that one's the bargain one. That one was, I bought a 80s Les Paul for $1,800 on Facebook. I traded that $1,800 Les Paul, which is worth more, for that Gretsch Country Gentleman. And that guy wanted $2,500 for that Gretsch Country Gentleman. So I won out big time on that trade. And then to the right was my White Falcon. Now that's not a Billy Duffy signature model because I don't do signature models, but that was the exact model that Billy Duffy from the Cult played. And I love the Cult and I love that guitar. I probably was never going to take it out anywhere because those guitars are extremely noisy to play with live. So I was like, you know what? And it was the only guitar that I have that's not an American-made guitar. So I was like, you know what? I can probably get my hands on one of those. But I got a great deal on that. I got that guitar for like $1,800 from a dealer in Jersey that I found on Reverb, and I called him up because I found the shop on Google, and I called him. I was like, hey, I found your guitar on Reverb. I don't want to pay the fees. I don't want to pay the sales tax. You don't want to pay the fees. I don't want to pay the sales tax. Let's just get a deal done. Would you do $1,800? He said, sure. So if you do the math, right? If you do the math, I technically paid $1,800 for the White Falcon. I paid $1,800 for that Country Gent because I traded it for a Les Paul that I paid $1,800 for. So that's $36. And then the Firebird, I want to say I paid $28. So now, oh boy, math, right? So $2,800 plus $3,600 is $6,400. So my equity, if you want to talk about it in finances, is $6,400. This guy wants $7,500. How much do I see these guitars going for on the street though, right? I'm in it for $6,400. I see that Firebird for at least $3,000 in my head. If I go onto Reverb and I look up those guitars, people have them anywhere between $28,000 and $4,000. So I'm gonna err on the side of caution and say $3,000. I'm gonna say that Country Gentleman is about $2,500 on the street. It's a 1977 all original USA made Gretsch Country Gentleman. The only thing about it, if it had the correct F holes, because I'm a big Beatles fan and George Harrison played a Country Gent, but George Harrison played the one that had the painted on F holes, and those were in the 60s. Once they got past 1972 or 73, they started doing cut F holes, like traditional really cut F holes. And that's not necessarily the Country Gent I wanted. I traded it because it was a great value and the guy took the trade. So I made out on that deal. That's why I took the guitar. Plus it was an old Country Gent and it was pretty cool. I didn't need another Les Paul. So that I value at $2,500. And the Gretsch, I see people selling those Gretsches between $3,000 and $3,500. So if you say $3,000 and $25,000 and $3,000, you're at $8,500. Right? So in my head, what I'm offering him is worth $8,500 on the street, potentially, and what he's asking is for $7,500. And I threw it out there at, on a whim. I was like, I'm just gonna see what this guy says. And I was fully expecting him to say no. I was fully expecting him to, curse me out or block me or whatever. I said, hey man, how would you feel about trading for 3 guitars? I have a Firebird Custom Shop, I have a Gretsch Country Gent from '77, and I have a Japanese Gretsch White Falcon. Let me know what you think. He writes back, yeah man, I dig all 3 of those guitars. I would do that trade. I almost lost it. I almost fainted. I was like, oh my God, this guy's gonna take the trade. I can't believe he's gonna take this trade. So I forget where I was, but I was with my family. And I was like, we have to go home real quick. And they're like, why? I was like, I have to pick up some guitars. I got to go to Guitar Center and trade these guitars. I always meet at Guitar Center in Brentwood, Tennessee. So I go home and I'm like, Christian, my son, I was like, come upstairs. You got to help dad because I can't carry 3 guitars. And my wife's like, you're trading 3 guitars for how many guitars? How many are you getting back? I was like, I'm getting 1 back. She goes, you're trading 3 guitars for 1 guitar? I was like, yeah. She goes, it better be a nice guitar. And I was like, trust me, it's a great guitar. Don't you worry about it. Lo and behold, I came home and here it is. Absolutely love it. It doesn't have the original case, but it has like a modern like chainsaw case for Firebirds. It's a giant rectangular case that has a big plastic on the outside, just like the chainsaw cases for the Les Pauls. And it's very protective. So I actually think it's an upgrade of the case. So I'm very happy with that. But this guitar absolutely rips. So you guys let me know what you think about the trade. Subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Hit that bell, leave a comment, tell a friend. And again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And let me know what you think. See you later, everybody. Have a good one. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to give you some tones of it. Mostly it's going to be distortion because that's what I have it set to, and I don't have my foot pedal or my foot switch in front of me. I have amped up. You can see it over there in the corner. That is my orange TH30. It's on full power, so it's running on all 4 tubes. It's going through my wireless system that I bought from Sweetwater, the X-Vive wireless system, which is pretty cool. I like it so far. I just got it and toying with it because I don't like wires. And the reverb that you hear is coming through the board on my Behringer X1222 mixing board. So enjoy. Thanks for being with me, guys, and I'll see y'all later.